Hello everyone, great way to start a video, Tibbs316 here. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm going to do it starting right now. As you could probably see by looking at my shirt, looking around my room, my favorite band of all time is Iron Maiden. I was first introduced to them about 12 years ago, I believe. No, 14 years ago, on the soundtrack to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Number of the Beast was on that. And that song changed my life really musically. It got me into heavy metal. And ever since then, I've been a big metal fan. Well, over the course of the next several years, because this was pre when I got the internet, so I had to go around to all the stores and buy the albums myself. And I did with my own money. And I now have all their albums, front to back to front, live, pretty much anything you can buy, I have. So what I want to do is I want to give you a little, who is Iron Maiden? Iron Maiden are a British heavy metal band that have been around since technically the late 70s, although their first album, which I'm going to review in this video, came out in 1980. They recently released their 16th album, I believe, The Book of Souls, their first double album last year. I've seen them live twice at the Comcast Center in Mansfield, Massachusetts, 4 years ago, I believe, and early this year at Madison Square Garden, which was incredible. Well, let me set the stage for you. In the late 1970s, there was a new generation of metal bands coming up out of England. They were called the New Wave of British Heavy Metal. Just to sell magazines, I guess. They needed to come up with a name. You had bands like Samson, Angel Witch, Urchin. Judas Priest might have come out of that movement. I can't quite remember. But regardless, one band that did come out of that movement is Iron Maiden. They played clubs, you know, most bands start, and then they got signed to a record deal. And it was, check out the documentary Iron Maiden in the early years to kind of really get a taste for how hard it was for them to settle on a lineup. The founder of the band, Steve Harris, has been part of it since day one. But it was a revolving door trying to find people to, in this band. It was hell for him to get a good set lineup. But in 1980, the lineup consisted of himself on bass, Paul Di'Anno on vocals, Dennis Stratton and Dave Murray on guitar, and the late Clive Burr on drums. Now, that first album is a bit of a mixed bag for some people because it was the first, so of course it was original, it was new, it was hot, it was fresh, it's very raw, it's not really clean. Steve Harris himself has said that he thinks it could have sounded heavier. I kind of see where he's coming from, because if you look at the performance at the Ruskin Arms the day the album came out, it's raw, it's sweat is pouring, it's amazing. Is the album that heavy? Well, it's a studio album. It's always going to be a little tamer than a live performance. But I think it is one of the best debut albums in rock history, certainly in heavy metal history. And they didn't become famous for a couple more years, and true metal fans know exactly why they became famous, for better or for worse. But in this vid, we are going to talk about the first album. Now this right here is not actually the original cover. This is the US re-release cover, because I have all the 1998 reissues. This right here, that was the original cover. It's a good picture of the band on the back. Yeah, very, very, very good album. If you are a metal fan, I would say you have to have this in your collection. And even if you're just a passing Maiden fan, you've heard some of their big songs and you want to know more about them, great place to start is where it all began. This isn't actually the first thing they recorded, interestingly enough. Beforehand, when they went into the studio, they actually recorded something called the Soundhouse tapes. It is extremely rare to find. I have found some vinyl and some CD copies several $100s. I think one guy was even selling a signed vinyl copy for like $900, and it's not signed by Paul. And that's pretty awesome. If I could afford to spend $1,000 on something like that, I would. But I can't. Although I've tried to find the CD, and eventually, I think there's one on Amazon right now for a couple hundred. I know, a couple $100 for a single CD with only 4 tracks on it. Why would you bother? But you know, I'm a big fan. What can I say? But I have heard it because it's on YouTube, of course, and it's all the songs in that are almost on here. There's a song called Invasion, which I do not. I don't think they ever actually put that song on an album. But Prowler, Running Free, and the Iron Maiden song are on there as well. Or is it Strange World? I probably should have looked that up first. Again, my fact, there's so many facts about this band, it's hard to keep track of everything. Especially in these early days when things weren't documented as well. But it was a good start. And then they released The Women in Uniform, I think it was their first single. Not a bad tune. Very memorable music video. And then came Running Free, which I think came out before this. Awesome song. It perfectly captures, because when Maiden started out, they weren't really hardcore type metal band. They were very punky almost. I mean, Paul Di'Anno, he wore little leather jackets and he had like spikes on and stuff like that sometimes. Look at this. I mean, is that punky enough for you? There's a story. Apparently, a guy from a record company saw their show. It's like, if you'll shave your head and dye it purple, I'll sign you right now. And they said, no way, of course. Go bugger off. But anyway, to the album. This is going to be a series. I am going to review all the albums, all 16 of them. I will probably also take a look at the live albums, as well as some other stuff, because I have that. I have Eddie's Archive, the rare box set. I have the original first run edition of that, which is very hard to find nowadays. But here's the first album. I don't know if I'm going to go track by track for all of these, but I'll try. Most of them are pretty solid. Completely. First you have Prowler, which was also the first song on the Soundhouse tapes. Awesome tune. Starts out with that great dual guitar, the rhythm, amazing. And Paul Di'Anno, one of the most overlooked singers I've ever seen in my life. He instantly became obsolete 2 years later when Bruce joined the group, but don't let anyone fool you. Maiden was great even before the Beast. And Prowler, it's really interesting because it's a song about creeping around, stuff like that. It's a great way to start. Sanctuary, one of the early Iron Maiden's biggest, crowd poppers. They would always play it at their shows. Great classic. Remember Tomorrow is a ballad. It really demonstrates what a great singer Paul was, because he's bluesy almost in his vocals, and it's so touching. It could bring a tear to your eye, it really could, but it also has an amazing breakdown of the instruments. They go full force and then they come back. And in the modern day, Maiden tends to have a soft intro, then the gallop in the middle, and then a soft outro. And Remember Tomorrow was kind of where that all started. The song starts out soft, and then drives you, it knocks you on your ass in the middle, and then goes out with a whimper. It's really nice. Running Free, again, like I said, a song about rebellion, one of Steve Harris's best bass lines. Amazing. And then my favorite track on the album, The Epic. How long is it? 7 minutes and 20 seconds, which is a long song. Phantom of the Opera. This is, for their time, I think Maiden would have been considered progressive metal. Certainly on that particular song, because it's broken down into several different sections. It starts out driving, going full force, great vocals, and then it breaks down, all the instruments doing their thing, and it has an amazing trade-off of guitar solos in the middle that is incredible. Dave Murray would stay with the group forever. He's still with them today. This would be Dennis Stratton's only album, but he could play. He really could. And he and Dave just... There are some people that hear this and they think it's Adrian. You know, you can't tell the difference, as we'll get into in the next one. But not bad, considering it was the only album he did with them. And from what I understand, he left due to musical differences, so it's not like he fought with the guys. But Phantom of the Opera, incredible. Transylvania is actually an instrumental, and a damn good one too. It's on some of their live shows as well, they would do this one, and it would really let they improv some stuff. Very, very good. You know, I mean, the guitar work is exquisite in this piece. Strange World. It can be considered unusual for metal bands to do ballads in the eyes of the public. Of course, we all know that some of the best metal songs of all time are the kind of softer, more emotional ballads. Maiden's no exception. If there's one ballad in these early days of Maiden that can top Remember Tomorrow, it's Strange World. The end of Transylvania blends right into it, and it's so nice. It has some of the most beautiful, downright touching guitar motifs in it. And Dennis says this may be the best that that Paul ever sang in this song. It's amazing. He never gets enough credit. Never. Then Charlotte the Harlot. 2 years later, on the Beast album, they would do a song called 22 Acacia Avenue. Now, for those of you who don't know, the story of Charlotte starts right here in Charlotte the Harlot. It's basically the story of a hooker who sells her body, gets abused by men, but the point of view of the one singing the song is someone who loves her, someone who wants to bring her out of that, someone who maybe she hurt, but he still loves her, and he knows she's better than the life. It's really deep, but it kicks ass. Again, it's really ruckus, and then it kind of goes a little ballady, and then it comes back to it. Maiden, none of their songs are boring. You know, Steve Harris is one of the best at creating great music. And then finally, the Iron Maiden song. I mean, what can be said about that song that hasn't been said before? They have played it at every single show they've ever done for 36 years, as far as I know. It's one of the most magical moments in any concert. When Eddie comes out the back when they're playing that song. I've seen it twice. Even when I watch a freaking DVD, and I have them all, it gives me chills watching it. Because it's so cool to see this badass motherfucker coming up from the back of the stage. Incredible. And to any of you, I think they're on tour right now, or they're just getting done with one. I think they're already done with the Book of Souls tour, the second one. If they tour again, they are getting up in years, but if they still have it, by the way. If they tour again, go see them. I cannot emphasize that enough, because I cannot think of another band who has been around this long that still has as much power that they do. So that is pretty much the first album. It was produced by, what's the guy's name? Will Malone. They would get a much better producer on the second album. Very much so. The first album, like I said, it hit number 1 on the metal charts, I believe, and it was released to celebrate. They did a concert at the Ruskin Arms, which is a fantastic little show. And then if you buy the early years DVD, you will see it's on there in its entirety. It's probably on YouTube too. I don't even know if anyone owns the footage officially. They probably do, but until that DVD came out, I highly doubt anyone owned it. Because it's like home video footage. It's great. I would rather go see that than see half the bands today in a big stadium. You know, great album, and it's well worth owning for any metal fan. Is it the best thing they ever did? Some people think it is. Some people think they sold out and a couple years later and became more mainstream, and that may be. But this is a fantastic debut, and it is one of the best debut albums of all time. And in terms of debut metal albums, the only other debut metal album I can think of, probably two. Black Sabbath's first album, and a more recent one, Enter Shikari's Take to the Skies. And that's probably my trinity of debut metal albums. And this is where it's interesting that when I got this, I got them all in one shot pretty much. So I listened to this first, and I thought to myself, hey, Bruce isn't the singer yet, so they're not quite at the point where the stuff I've heard so far comes from. So I don't know if I'll like these first couple albums. Right when Prowler hit, I was hooked, and I was like, oh my god, these guys were great even back before people thought they were. And it's truly a great album. It really is. Well, after that album was released, they went on tour. They didn't really do much of a tour, I don't think. Not a world tour. They just toured around all the clubs and stuff like that. And there's the Reading Festival. It's an awesome CD called BBC Archives, part of the Eddie's Archive box set, that has a performance at the Reading Festival. Great show. That must have been a thrill for them. They just came out with their first album. Now they're going to play at Reading. I think it was this year. It might have been a year later, but I think it was this year. Dennis Stratton would leave the group. Musical differences, they handshake and everything like that. There was no hard feelings, and it worked out for the best because they met Adrian Smith, and we'll get more into that next time. Because I think you know what's coming next. Probably one of the most underrated albums ever made, and possibly their most underrated. The Calm Before the Storm. Next time, it's Killers. Take care, everyone. Up the